I've gotten a lot of great FPV shots with the DJI Avata 2, but as it comes out of the box with the default settings, you won't be able to get nearly this good results. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact settings I use and how to set up your Avata 2 to get the most cinematic FPV shots. And I made a PDF checklist of the settings I'll be sharing, so make sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the description where you can download it for free. So let's strap on the goggles and dive right in. So to start with, we'll want to access our basic camera settings, and to do that, we'll click up on the joystick. That will bring up a bunch of different settings here. You can switch between settings for video and photos. I never shoot photos with my FPV drone, so we're going to be focusing on video. First, we can switch between manual mode and auto mode. I almost always have this set to manual mode so that I can control my ISO and shutter speed. The only time when I would switch it over into auto mode is if I'm just flying around for fun, or if I'm flying between very bright and very dark environments and want to have the exposure automatically change to match the changing lighting conditions. But most of the time I want to lock in my exposure and have it stay consistent, so we'll keep that set to manual. Next up, we have the ISO. Again, we're going to want to switch this off of auto onto manual ISO. You're generally going to want to keep the ISO set as low as possible, because the higher the ISO goes, the more noise and graininess you get in your shot. In general, I try to keep this set to ISO 100. The only time I ever increase it is if I'm flying in a really dark, low light environment. Then you can bump it on up to 200 or 400, but just be aware that you're going to start to get more noise, graininess in your shot and lose detail. Then next we have the shutter speed. Now ideally with shutter speed, you're going to want to follow what's called the 180-degree shutter rule and have your shutter speed at double your frame rate. So for example, if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you'll want to have your shutter speed at 1/60th of a second. And so most of the time I'll have my shutter speed set to 1/60th of a second. And the reason to use the 180-degree shutter rule and set your shutter speed to double your frame rate is that it creates motion blur in your shot, which replicates how our eyes naturally see motion and makes your shots look far better. And this is especially important for FPV shots because there's a lot of super fast motion in the shot, and if that motion isn't blurred, it ends up looking choppy and not smooth. Here's an example of what an FPV clip looks like with motion blur and without motion blur, so it's definitely something that you'll want to pay attention to. Now, the only small problem with this is that if you're outside in bright light, having the shutter speed set to 1/60th of a second will cause your image to be way too bright and totally blown out. So to fix that, I use ND filters, which are just little dark filters that go on top of the drone's camera and cut down the amount of light that's coming in so that you can fly in a brighter environment and still use 180-degree shutter speed of 1/60th of a second. Now, to be completely honest, I don't always use 180-degree shutter speed. Sometimes I'll just use a faster shutter speed and then add motion blur in post. The one downside of motion blur is that if you aren't flying very smoothly on the sticks, making a lot of jerky movements, when you stabilize the footage in post, it can cause your shot to become blurred for just a second, because while you were filming, the frame moved, and now you've removed that movement, and so it doesn't look very good. Now, most of the time this isn't really a problem, but if you're super shaky on the sticks, or for example flying from a moving car on a gravel road, sometimes it's better to use a faster shutter speed and just add the motion blur in post. And then moving on to our exposure value, this doesn't apply when you're in manual mode, but if you are in auto, you'll see we can set our exposure value. If you feel like the drone is auto exposing too bright or too dark, we can increase our EV to brighten the shot up or decrease it to darken the shot down. And many times when I am flying in auto mode, I'll run a slight negative EV to make sure that I don't clip the highlights. Then moving on from our exposure settings, we have white balance. Now I always set this to manual white balance. By default, it is set to auto white balance, and that might seem easier and simpler than having to manually set your white balance all the time. But with auto white balance, the white balance can change in the middle of a clip, go from warm to cool. It seems to especially happen with FPV footage, so it's always best to manually set your white balance. If it's sunny, you're going to want to have it around 5600 Kelvin, and then if it's cloudy, you'll want it on up somewhere around 6000 to 6300 Kelvin. And at sunrise and sunset, I like to keep it around 5600 Kelvin, or maybe just a little bit warmer to really bring out the nice sunrise colors. And then moving on to aspect ratio, you can either have this set to 16:9 or 4:3. I basically always keep this set to 4:3 so that I have a better view on the top and bottom of my frame when I'm flying, can see more of what's under and above me, and it also allows me to create a taller vertical crop of my FPV shots for social media. And then moving over to video quality, I always have this set to 4K because that's the highest resolution that you can choose, and I always have it set to 4K 60 instead of 4K 30 because 4K 30 lowers the frame rate that's coming to the goggles and creates a more choppy video feed, and for me at least, that choppier video feed makes it a lot harder to see what's happening and control the drone, especially in tight environments. Now, even though I'm shooting at 60 frames per second, I use the 180-degree shutter speed for 30 frames per second, so 1/60th of a second, and then I just edit that footage on a 30 frames per second timeline, which just uses every other frame, so it's basically the same as 30 frames per second with 1/60th of a second shutter speed, but I get the full 60 frames per second video feed to the goggles. Or if you're wanting to shoot in 60 frames per second and think you want to slow the footage down in post, then you can use an even higher shutter speed so that the footage isn't blurry when you slow it down. And then for super slow motion scenes, like for example chasing birds or wildlife, something that you want to slow down a lot, I'll set this to 4K 100 frames per second. Now this is not available in the 4:3 aspect ratio. You'll have to switch over to 16:9. This is the one time that I do use 16:9 is when I want to film 4K 100 frames per second. Then you can come back over to video quality and select 4K 100 frames per second. This is really good quality and some nice slow motion for those faster action scenes. And for filming in 4K 100 frames per second slow motion, you'll want to use a quite high shutter speed to make sure that the motion stays nice and crispy. Then moving on to camera field of view, you'll always want to keep this set to wide. If you set it to normal or ultra wide, it won't record any gyro data for stabilization, and you won't be able to stabilize your footage in post, which is much better than the internal stabilization. I had a big fail when I was starting out because of this. I shot a bunch of footage that I wanted to post stabilize, but I had it set to ultra wide field of view instead of wide, and then I couldn't stabilize that footage at all because there was no gyro data with it. So make sure that you have this set too wide, not ultra wide or normal, if you want to stabilize the footage in post. Then our next setting is auto ISO limit. This is for if you have this ISO set to auto so that it will automatically compensate for brightness. You can limit how high the ISO goes. You can set this to say 400 or 800 if you don't want it to go any higher than that because you don't want it to become super grainy and noisy. Our next setting is EIS, electronic image stabilization. You can either have this set to rock steady, which will automatically stabilize the footage inside the drone and give you a nice stabilized file, or you can set it to off and then it will record gyro data with the file. Here it says when EIS is disabled, gyroscope data will be included in the file when camera field of view is set to wide. So again, make sure your camera view is set to wide, not ultra wide or normal. And with this gyro data, you can pull it into a free program called GyroFlow and stabilize it in post, and you actually get a lot better results stabilizing it in post in GyroFlow than using the built-in Rocksteady image stabilization in the drone. Rocksteady is fine for just flying around and having fun, but because it's stabilizing in real time and can't look as far forward and backward at the movements that you're making, it doesn't give you the same buttery smooth results that you want for cinematic FPV as stabilizing it in post in GyroFlow. So then our next setting is our color. You can either have this set to normal color, which as you can see adds a lot more contrast to the footage, or to D-Log M, which will keep your footage a lot flatter, but it will also give you a lot more color grading flexibility and a lot more dynamic range, which is how bright and dark parts of the shot you can see at the same time. And this is a major key to getting footage like I do with the Avata 2. If you're just shooting in normal color profile, you're throwing away a lot of quality. So I always recommend shooting in D-Log M with the Avata 2 and then color grading the footage. And if you're wanting to know how to color grade D-Log M footage from the Avata 2, I have another video on the channel that shows that. I'll put a link to it in the description as well. And then next up we have color display assist. This is for if you're shooting in D-Log color profile. It simply adds some contrast and saturation to your footage to make it look a bit better, be a bit more inspiring and less flat while you're shooting. This only affects the feed that comes to the goggles. It doesn't affect what's recorded to the drone's SD card, so you still have the full quality flat footage on the drone. And I pretty much always keep this on. The only time I have it turned off is when I need to see in super deep shadows while I'm flying and I don't want to bump my exposure up to protect the highlights. And just in general, you can see better to fly fly with color display assist on. And one more thing that I use to help me see better when I'm flying is enhanced display. To access it, we'll just close out our camera settings menu and then click down with our joystick to open up the menu on the top. And our second setting over here is enhanced display. As you can see, if we turn that off and back on, it just boosts up the shadows and adds a little bit of extra contrast so that you can see better in all the different parts of your image. And I basically always have that on as well. So that's it for the basic camera settings menu. Now diving into our menus. To get to the menu, we'll just click right on our joystick and then come down here to settings, and we'll click down to camera, select that. A lot of these settings we've already dealt with in the regular camera settings menu. First setting that wasn't in camera settings is grid lines. You can turn on a little 3x3 thirds grid on your shot. I always keep this turned off because you don't really compose FPV shots the same way as you do with a regular camera drone. You're more just flying through a landscape, and also because I shoot in 4x3 and then export my final videos in 16:9. It's not putting the grid lines where they would be in the final shot anyway. Now the next setting, center point, I do turn on. This just adds a little marker in the middle of your screen so you can sort of keep orientation where the center of your shot is. This is something that I do find to be quite helpful. Then next is just simply where you're storing your footage. You can format your SD card. Then we have advanced camera settings. First up is record with. You'll want to have this set to both, so it will record both with your drone and in the goggles. You don't want to set this to just goggles because then it will just record the low quality camera feed coming to your goggles, but it won't record on the drone. So you want to make sure it's not set to that. And I like to have it also recording to the goggles, so in case I crash the drone or lose it, I at least have my camera view from the goggles saved. And then camera view recording, honestly not sure what this is, never played with it. I think this just chooses if you have your goggle overlay included on top of the goggles screen recordings. Again, this is not something that affects the camera feed in the drone. Then auto record on takeoff. This will just start the video as soon as you take off with the drone. This is again something that I don't have turned on, but if you're always forgetting to record when you're flying, this might be something that you want to consider turning on. And then here we have our color profile, color display assist. We already went through this. Then next we have sharpness and noise reduction. Honestly, I've just left these at 0 for most of my videos, but noise reduction at higher ISOs in low light, you'll want to turn both noise reduction and sharpening down, and then do your own noise reduction and sharpening in post so that you have a less over-processed, over-noise reduced image, because in low light, when you start to get some grain in your image, the noise reduction in the Avata 2 becomes super aggressive and just kills all the detail in the shot. And if you don't mind doing your own noise reduction and sharpening, then you can just turn them both all the way down all of the time. But for me, I just didn't feel like doing noise reduction and sharpening on all of the shots, so I've just left them at 0 and it's worked fine. And anti-flickering, I just leave this on auto. This is only going to apply if you're shooting indoors or somewhere with artificial lights. 60 Hertz is for the US, 50 Hertz is for Europe and some other countries, but just leaving it on auto should work fine 99% of the time. So that's it for the camera settings menu. A couple other things that might be helpful in the display menu. First of all, we have brightness. You can adjust the brightness of your goggles up or down. I leave this on full brightness. You can turn on and off if you have an AR home point displayed in the goggles. That is quite nice to have. Then goggles defog, this just turns on a couple little fans in the goggles, which can be super useful if it's really hot and you're sweating and it's starting to fog up your goggles. That will just blow air in there and get rid of some of the fog. Then enable real view picture in picture. I have this turned off. This is just a little thing where you can double tap the side of the goggles and it will let you look around through the front of the goggles and put your drone feed in a small box. I just have it turned off because I do not find that useful at all. The camera lenses on the front of these goggles are just way too narrow to be useful in seeing your environment. I just rather pull up my goggles and look around, and I keep accidentally bumping it when I'm doing something with the goggles and turning it on accidentally, and then I have to turn it off, so I just keep that shut off. And finally, coming up here to the control menu, going into remote controller. These settings are only going to apply if you have the FPV remote controller 3, but if we come in here to button customization, I have the C1 custom button on the front of the remote set to ESC beeping. This will just make your drone beep very, very helpful if you've lost it. And then all the way down at the bottom for custom mode, that's on the little mode switch here. There are 3 different modes. The third one being a custom mode. I have that set to manual so that you can flip your drone into manual mode. Again, manual mode is how I've gotten all the cool FPV shots that you see. It does take a lot more practice to fly in manual mode than just with the little wand remote, but it is 100% worth learning if you want to get cool FPV shots like what you've seen online. If you want to see more about how to get started with manual FPV with the Avata 2, there's another video here on my channel where I go over my first 2 weeks of flying manual FPV with the Avata 2, so you can see exactly what I learned in that process and how to get started. And then going over to stick mode, this is by default set to mode 2. Don't change that, otherwise it'll totally change how the sticks work and confuse you. And then gain and expo, I've basically left all of these settings on the default. They've worked fine for me. They might not be the best for super aggressive freestyle, but for cinematic FPV, they work just fine. And then finally, down at the bottom here, if you're flying in manual mode, you'll want to disable M mode attitude limit. This just simply disables being able to flip your drone over or dive it super steep, and you need to have that full flexibility to get all the cool shots you can get with FPV. So there you have the settings that I use to shoot cinematic FPV with the Avata 2. And if you're interested in getting better shots with your drone, whether that's an FPV drone like the Avata 2 or a regular camera drone like the Mavic or AR Mini series or the DJI Flip, I have a completely free 45-minute drone filmmaking training where I share my top 10 secrets to getting cinematic drone shots, and link to that is down in the description. Again, completely free, no strings attached. Or if you want to go even deeper, I have an entire 12-hour drone filmmaking course where I dive into every single part of my process for creating cinematic drone videos, covering everything from the best settings, how to compose your shots, how to work with natural light, how to get smooth dynamic drone moves. I go in depth in how to edit and color grade your videos in both DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro, and you can check that out at flyingfilmmakerpro.com. Again, links to everything is down in the description. Don't forget to download your completely free DJI Avata 2 settings checklist. You can click right here or right here to watch 2 more videos about the Avata 2. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.